What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Miami Sports Vibes podcast with your host here, Nando Diaz. Man, a Wednesday night here, man, and there's a lot to touch on, a lot of NBA news to touch on, a lot of NBA news to touch on from my perspective, man. First of all, my Miami Heat, man, climbing up in the standings and climbing up slowly. Listen, I've been telling you guys for now quite a few weeks here. Those of you guys who are not Heat fans, I said, watch out for those Miami Heat, man. That is a team to watch out for right after the All-Star break, and they're showing absolutely why. Why? Some people may ask still, which I think is crazy to me. Like, people still wonder why. Because the Miami Heat play a brand of basketball that's just literally what they're about. That is what their culture is all about. They are literally about a team that is, it's all about just playing hard, hustling, defending, great chemistry, you name it, man. And that is why the Miami Heat now have won 5 in a row, right? And 8 out of their last 10 games, man. Right now they're climbing up. Right now they're the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. They're a game and a half behind the New York Knicks, who are the 4th seed. And things are just kind of starting to groove. You can tell by watching these Miami Heat games, like things are really starting to click and things are really starting to roll. Obviously, you thought that once you started seeing Jimmy Butler having these press conferences where it's like, okay, we're about to turn up. It's that time. And he's kind of been dialed in ever since then. Now, there was that issue against the Pelicans, which worried me. All right, so first game back from the All-Star break. I'm excited as hell. We're playing the Pelicans. It's a big name. It's obviously a team that's at the top of the Western Conference. I believe they're the 5th seed right now. The game is on the road. I'm like, okay, this is kind of go time here. You got about like 26 games, 27 games remaining. Jimmy's turning up. And then unfortunately the suspension happens where, he gets grabbed by the throat, which, by the way, I mean, this man, Najee Marshall, is lucky that Jimmy didn't get a clean enough look, because I think Jimmy probably would have swung at him, man. And I think he was trying to. But honestly, how could you not? Somebody grabs you if somebody literally is pointing at your face or saying something disrespectful in your face, let alone grabbing you in the throat area. I mean, listen, I feel like it's very, very hard to keep your composure right there. And I think Jimmy Butler tried, but shout out to the teammates, because Jimmy Butler did connect. Man, he might have been suspended for quite a good amount of time, man. So thankfully it wasn't. It was only a 1-game suspension, but I kind of got worried because the Pelicans started to make a late run, but then Bam Adebayo just activated himself and started going off, put the game away, which I love to see. But then Tyler Hero gets hurt. And it's like, God damn, man. Once you're a Miami Heat fan, you start to see some encouraging things. Boom, another blow happens. And we're used to that. That's what us Heat fans usually see. How many damn times we see things like that go the opposite direction. Like, we start to get a high and then boom, here comes a blow. So the injury looked bad for Tyler. I'm not even going to lie. It looked bad. Thankfully, the MRI came out good. It's a little bit of a hyperextension. He's going to be out for only a couple of games. Thank goodness. All right. Thank goodness for that, because I was like, damn, man, right when we started really feeling on the groove. But, shout out to the Heat, man. And then how were the Heat going to respond? All right. Got a game in Sacramento. Sacramento coming off beating the Clippers. Sacramento's at home. Sacramento is battling to get out of that play-in spot, because right now they are stressing out right now in the Western Conference. How the Heat going to respond? No Jimmy Butler. No Terry Rozier, no Josh Richardson, no Tyler Hero. How are the Heat going to respond? To be honest with you, I didn't think they were going to win that game. And it's like, right when they win that game, you start to think to yourself, like, how many damn times do I have to doubt the Heat? And I'm not the only one, man. It's like every time you seem to doubt them, they have like this traditional culture game where they're just out hustling people, man. And that's exactly what they did against Sacramento the other night. Truly impressive stuff without Jimmy Butler. I thought that was big time. And then obviously getting Jimmy back on the second night of a back-to-back, coming off the suspension in Portland. He came back, did his thing. I mean, get into the free throw line. There's that Jimmy Butler that we're used to seeing come playoff time. It seems like he kind of activated the switch now. And honestly, I'm here for it, because that's what we need to do. I don't want this team getting anywhere near the play-in. All right. Like, I just mentioned the standings. The 5th seed right now, climbing on up. We were just 7 or 8 not too long ago. So the fact that we're right there at the 5th seed, a game and a half, outside of 4th, that's kind of the spot where I think this Miami Heat team wants to get to. And I think we have a good damn shot at it, man. If Jimmy Butler's playing like this, where he's literally, activating playoff Jimmy by getting to the free throw line, getting other guys involved, and kind of just manipulating the game. I talk about people manipulating the game. Those are superstars. Like, that's, to me, that separates a superstar. When you know how to really manipulate the game. Jimmy Butler knows exactly what's needed, and he's been activating it. You could just tell, you could feel it. You hear his press conferences, and I'm all here for it, man. I absolutely love what I've been seeing from Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, like picking up the slack when Jimmy's gone. I think that's big time. And how about Terry Rozier coming back from the injury? That's another thing. I mentioned us not having good things, right? We get Terry Rozier, starts to slump, but he was having a career year in Charlotte. That's how it works. He slumps when he's with the Heat. Then he gets in a groove. Then he gets hurt. Here we go. But to his credit, he did come back last night and had himself a very strong game. And I think that is such a key to our success, right? Because you think about this Heat team, it's pretty much the same team as last year. And if you had confidence, obviously you lost Strus, you lost Vincent, but this time you have what most likely should be a healthy Tyler Hero who's averaging over 20 points per game. And now you have a guy who averaged over 20 a game in Charlotte and Terry Rozier. So substitute if you believe this team was capable of winning last year, right? Come playoff time, after the Hero injury, then you should have so much confidence in this team, to be honest with you. Why? Same thing I mentioned. Now you have Tyler Hero, who's averaging over 20 points per game. Now you have Terry Rozier, who obviously was averaging over 20 in Charlotte, probably with the Heat, probably going to average like 16 points, probably. You'll take that. And then you got Jaime Jaquez, who nobody probably expect him to produce this fast. Obviously, we talk about his skill set. We talk about him being pro ready and things like that. Like, this guy looks like an NBA player coming out. But we didn't think that it was going to pan out this way. No way. We didn't think he was going to get the opportunity that he's gotten. And he's literally shown that this dude can play. So you have those three components. And last year we didn't have those three in the playoffs. So we made it to the finals. We had Strus and Vincent. So take out Strus and Vincent. Who are you going to take? Strus and Vincent or Rozier, Tyler Hero, and Jaime Jaquez? I know the answer to that question. So that's my take. If you believed that the Heat had a chance last year, you should absolutely believe that they have a chance this year. It's a matter of getting hot at the right time, flipping that switch that we all know they can flip. And I believe truly, from what I've seen over the last couple of games, that switch is activated. Jimmy was activated a couple games before the All-Star break, continue to do it afterwards, but now it's starting to rub off on the whole team. You saw Caleb Martin had a nice game. You saw Duncan Robinson, who didn't have a good game against Sacramento, but had a good game against Portland. He's been big time this year. Kevin Love, a big game against Sacramento. And that's what it takes. It's not going to be consistent guy all the time. It's going to be a new guy each and every time that's going to be helping Jimmy and Bam and Tyler Hero when he comes back healthy. You're going to have Rozier get hot. You're going to have Duncan get hot. You're going to have Caleb have a Caleb game. You're going to have Jaime Jaquez have a Jaime Jaquez game. Like, that's just what's going to happen. You saw it in Sacramento. That is what makes this Heat team that's coached by Eric Spoelstra just the same type of tough-nosed team that nobody wants to play come playoff time. So, it's gonna get interesting, man. And I want to talk about this in 4-game increments, right? So basically, we have 24 games left remaining in the for the regular season. 24 games left, right? We're the 5th seed right now as it stands. 1.5 games out from the top 4 seed, which you want because you want to secure that home field advantage, home court advantage, better said, in the first round. So I want to talk about it in 4 games at a time, right? So if we're doing this, we'll do this, 4 games at a time, right? Look at it in 4-game increments, right? So let's see the next couple games that the Miami Heat have, the next 4, and predict them. I want to see how they shape out. So right now we're 33-25, right? 4-game increments. I do not want to go under 500 in any of these. I'll take 2-2, but if you get 3-1 or 4-0, at least 2-2 at the bare minimum throughout the way, the Heat are going to be in good shape going into the playoffs. That's just my opinion. That's how I see it shaking out. But let's see. Like I talked about, winning 8 out of the last 10 games is impressive. Winning 5 in a row is impressive. Remember, beating Milwaukee, beating the Philadelphia 76ers, beating the Pelicans, beating the Kings, beating the Trailblazers. This is all on the road, by the way. All right, winning in Milwaukee, winning in Philly, winning in New Orleans, winning in Sacramento. These are all places that are hard to play in. So the Heat are grooving, but they have their work cut out for them in their final game of their road trip, which is tomorrow night, going against it's the finals rematch here. So this game is obviously going to be picked up on TNT. It's the Miami Heat against the Denver Nuggets. Who do I think wins this game? It may shock many, but I'm rolling with my boys, man. I think this game is circled on the calendar. Obviously, since losing to the Denver Nuggets in the finals last year, it's obviously circled for that reason. Everybody always wants to get back at the team that beat them in the NBA Finals the next year, especially in Denver, especially on primetime television. I think the Heat have this game circled, but it's not only about having it circled. It's about what this does. Ending the road trip on a winning streak is big. And this also, you can make an argument for all of these games. Like, oh, they beat Philly. There wasn't Joel Embiid. Oh, it's just constant excuses all the time, right? But how impressive would it be to hang with yourself that on this road trip, you not only swept the whole road trip, winning 6 out of them, all 6, but you beat teams like Philly, Milwaukee, and Denver and the Pelicans, like all these contending teams. It would mean a lot. So I think the Heat are really going to surprise a lot of people. I expect them to win this game. I really do. Now, I know Denver is no joke. I'm not sleeping on Denver at all. I think Denver is pretty much in the best shape out of any team probably to win the NBA title because they know what it takes. They have practically the same roster. Obviously, losing Bruce Brown was big, but they have that core there. So I'm not going to disrespect Denver. This is not a disrespect towards Denver. I don't think Denver sucks by any means. I just think the Heat are going to come ready. I love what I saw from Terry Rozier. So hopefully we see more of that tomorrow. And I love what I've seen from Jimmy Butler lately. If Bam Adebayo can kind of, hold his own against Jovic, then then we should be in good shape, man. I really think. I just think the shot making is different, and I think that's what's going to come down to shot making. I can see Terry Rozier being the X factor and Jaime Jaquez. One of those two got to get hot. All right, I expect Jimmy to do big things. I expect Bam to do his thing. But if we can get one of those two hot or both, I think the Heat are going to be in the driver's seat. The next game is against Utah. Now you're coming back at home for this one against a Utah Jazz team that is not that good. Obviously, it's a team that plays hard, so you can't take them lightly. I think the Heat go ahead and win that game. Next, after that, you play the Detroit Pistons at home. Listen, have you watched the Pistons play? That should be an easy win, but it's never easy when you're a Miami Heat fan. For some reason, they play to the level of their competition. Why? I don't know, but it happens a lot around the NBA. You saw the Knicks barely beat the Pistons the other night. Things like this just happen. You saw Boston earlier this year almost lost their home winning streak. Or no, the Pistons losing streak was almost snapped to Boston back when they were losing like 28 in a row. It just happens. That's the way the NBA works. Fourth game in the next 4 is at Dallas on TNT. I believe that's next Thursday. I'm going to say that one is a loss. But honestly, like I said, I got the Heat going 3-1 over the next 4 games. If they can at least go 2-2, I'll be okay with that. 4-0 would be a blessing, but at least 3-0, with the big one being tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to be huge for what that can do to a team. Would be impressive, man. So I definitely think that the Miami Heat are going to come ready to play tomorrow. Like I said, I think Terry Rozier has a big game because I think shot making was, in my opinion, what was missed in the finals last year was just the ability, like who else but Jimmy? Who else but Bam? Like, who is going to be a consistent scorer? And that would have been Tyler Hero. But obviously, Tyler Hero going down with the injury, it made things shaky. So, Terry Rozier, I'm calling your name. I'm calling your name. I think he's built for it. I think he's ready for the challenge, and I think Rozier is going to be that key guy for the Miami Heat tomorrow. But let's see. Do I think the Heat are contenders again, though? The question of the stream is absolutely. I think the Miami Heat are contenders again because, like I said, if I had confidence in this team last year to win the finals and I called them contenders, you have added a Terry Rozier. You have potentially added a healthy Tyler Hero come that time. You have added a Jaime Jaquez. And once Josh Richardson gets back, you have a guy that can shut down people off the bench, or you can start him, plug and play guy. The roster is just better than what it was with the Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. I don't like throw that whole chemistry stuff out the window. Listen, from a talent perspective, the team has more to throw out there. And when things literally got tough for the Miami Heat, it all came down to one thing. Who else but Jimmy? Who is going to put the ball in the hole? A scorer was needed. Not only do you have Tyler Hero now, right? Hey, God forbid if he gets hurt, that's why you trade for Terry Rozier. The dude is a bucket. It's only a matter of time. He just got back healthy. He has 24 games to kind of acclimate himself in the system. I expect him to go, all gas, no brakes from here on out. So Terry Rozier, my man, please don't make me eat my words, man. But I think the Miami Heat are in headed in the right direction, especially with Jimmy playing like that, man. Already activating playoff mode, getting to the free throw line. That is the key. Other quick hitters I want to throw about, in my opinion, about news around the NBA. Yo, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson off the bench, man. The dude has been lighting it up off the bench, and I'm happy as hell, man, because a lot of people were out on Klay Thompson. People were saying, they should trade Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's better days are behind him. And I'm like, no, man, like, you can't do that. Like, when you're the Golden State Warriors who's won championships with this dynasty of a team that you have, when you got that big three, like Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green, you just don't break that up, man. Like, no matter how ugly it gets, that just sets such a bad vibe, for future players to come, for future Hall of Famers to come. Like, this, you just got to do right by them, man. Like, you really do. When somebody has that much success, you're talking about a big three that has won championships, multiple championships. What, they have 4 now? I mean, dude, it's crazy, bro. Like, it's crazy. It really is. Yeah, that's 4. Yeah, 2. Yeah, 4 titles. 4 titles, a 73-9 season. And it's just like, trade Klay Thompson. Like, that shit was crazy. I'm glad they didn't. And I'm honestly glad for Klay Thompson that he's kind of found something, because sometimes I think when it's a shooter and it's a guy that tries as hard as Klay Thompson, you saw how it was affecting him mentally. I really started to think that it's kind of in his head. All those shooting struggles were in his head. He just has to get in a groove. If he sees a couple go in the basket and he has a stretch over, a stretch where he's just scoring over 20 for like 3 straight games, I really think he wouldn't look back from there. But they found something. I don't know what it is, but sometimes with these players, man, I feel like it always happens, man. You just have to mix something up, tweak something up a little bit. And sometimes shooters don't look back from there, man. And that's what Klay Thompson is doing. And that's going to be key. If he can continue lighting it up like that off the bench, you saw Chris Paul return yesterday. Steph Curry is kind of like not even scoring the ball that much lately with Klay Thompson. I mean, that's a hell of a punch off the bench, man, to have Klay Thompson shooting like that. I think the Warriors, I mentioned it before, man. I think along with the Heat, I think the Warriors are another team to watch out for. You saw Draymond Green's kind of been turning it up another level, having 8, like he's like having 8 assists in his sleep, man. 8 and 8, like 8 rebounds, 8 assists, like 8 points, whatever he does, it's effective, man. And obviously, he's back to old Draymond. That Draymond that impacts games, that Draymond that's locked in. I don't expect the Warriors to be a play-in team, by the way. I think they're starting to get in the groove, and I think it's only up from here, to be honest with you. So shout out to Klay Thompson. Love what I've seen from him off the bench. So I definitely want to give him his flowers. And the Warriors are starting to roll, man. They really are. The Dallas Mavericks, that's another team I want to touch on, man. Losing 2 in a row. I see a lot of people freaking out about it. It's like, Dallas is not for real, yada, yada, yada. I get the concerns because some of their losses are weird, especially yesterday, losing to Cleveland. They were up like 10 with 3 minutes left, and then Max Strus just started lighting it up. If you guys didn't see the highlights of that game, it's pretty insane what Strus was able to do down the stretch. Shout out to Strus. But the Dallas Mavericks, man, I don't know what it is with them. They've won 7 out of the last 10 games, so I do want to give respect to them there. And they have made a trade, adding Gafford and PJ Washington, which I think rounds their team a little bit better than it was before. But, man, these games where Luka just tears it up, scoring 40 points, and they lose, it's pretty discouraging, man. But I'm not on the camp that's, saying that the Mavericks aren't contenders. I really think that they are, to be honest with you. I mentioned them as the third team to watch out for in the second half of the season. Kyrie is starting to get activated. Luka is obviously being Luka. And the trade, I think, in the long haul, it's going to pay out, man. Obviously, losing that game last night and losing the one before is tough for Dallas, but I think Dallas is going to be all right. I'm not really freaking out, and I wouldn't hit the panic button on the Dallas Mavericks. But I will tell you who I would hit the panic button on, and it may surprise people, but it's the Sacramento Kings, man. And this one hurts me because many people who've been listening to me for a couple of years know I'm a huge De'Aaron Fox fan, man. Like, De'Aaron Fox is one of my favorite players, coming from his days in Kentucky. Obviously, him and Devin Booker, those are like my 2 top guys. Love those 2, man. Always root for their teams and themselves, but I don't know, man. What I've seen from De'Aaron Fox this year has been honestly concerning to me. I kind of miss the De'Aaron Fox that was just getting to the line more, playing downhill, not settling for 3-point shots. And, he started to improve from the free throw line, and now it's dropped off tremendously, man. I don't know what's going on with De'Aaron Fox. I don't know if it's an injury. Me, who watches De'Aaron Fox pretty much his entire career and in college, I feel like there has to be an injury going on, and that's scary, man. But the Sacramento Kings, I would hit the panic button now, man, to be honest with you. They are 5-5 at their last 10 games, losing to the Miami Heat when the Miami Heat did not have Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier, had all of those main guys out. And to not win that game when they're right there battling in the standings, like they are the 7th seed right now. Dallas is a half game back at the 8th seed. You got Golden State climbing up and getting closer. They're 3 games out of the 7th spot. I think it's like time for the Sacramento Kings to it's go time. And it should have began, after beating the Clippers. They've had some impressive runs. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to shit on the Kings here, but you're 5-5 in the last 10 when things are rough right now. You lost to a team that didn't have, their 2 top scorers and another guy that could score the hell out of ball in Rozier, and you were at home. I just feel like there's no excuse for Sacramento there. They got to take advantage. They're losing too many games to teams that they should beat. They're letting guys that are no names just light them up. And there's not a consistent De'Aaron Fox. There's not a consistent De'Aaron Fox out there. And that's alarming to me. Kevin Huerter, you've seen him drop off this year. Malik Monk, shout out to him. I do like that he plays with pace and he comes in with energy off the bench. I love Malik Monk's game. But I just feel like the Sacramento Kings aren't consistent enough for my liking. And this is a team that was kind of at the top of the West last year. They were fighting for the 3 seed, 4 seed. They were making noise throughout the entire season, and things were just flowing. The vibes were great in Sacramento. I'm not really getting that same vibe, from the Sacramento Kings and the Sacramento Kings fans, man. But shout out to the Kings fans because obviously I always got love for them. I respect the hell out of the Kings fans. They pack that place out. They're loud, whether they win or lose, man, whether their team is good or bad. Shout out to the Kings fans. I really hope they do get it together, but I would absolutely hit the panic button right now if I was a Kings fan. And that's because I think De'Aaron Fox has another level to him that we saw last year. Okay, we saw last year how great De'Aaron was. We saw how great it was when he was in the playoffs and, showing up on the big stage, scoring 40 balls against Golden State. We're not seeing the same De'Aaron Fox consistently. I mentioned this on my boy stream the other day, man. There's games where you see De'Aaron Fox score less than 20 points. Like when a lot. I'm not talking about 1 in every 10. I mean, you could look at it lately. There's a couple games with like 12, 17, 16, 15. Like what is going on? That is unlike De'Aaron. Like I said, I don't want to make excuses, man, but I think my boy is playing through some type of injury, man. But the Kings got to get it together, man. They have to find a way. No one's going to feel sorry for you. At the end of the day, people, if you're playing through injury and you're putting yourself out there, you gotta take what's given, and that's people being critical of you. That's your fan base being critical and holding you to a high standard. But hopefully the Kings get right. I'm rooting for you guys. All right. So shout out to the Kings fans. I'm rooting for you guys. Obviously rooting for my boy De'Aaron to get things right. And I did mention, though, this all can change. And the way this can change for Sacramento and they can have success is from number 5, De'Aaron Fox. If this dude has a stretch, I mentioned this just like Jimmy Butler, flipping the switch at the right time. All right. What does that mean? Turning up playoff mode, activating playoff mode a couple weeks earlier when you're a team that needs it. If you're fighting to get out of a play-in spot right now, it is time to flip that switch. Treat every game from here on out like a playoff game. Get activated, turn up, and guess what? It's going to rub off on your teammates. It's just going to set you up perfect right into the playoffs, and then you can carry that momentum in the playoffs and make some noise. So hopefully De'Aaron gets it together. It's on you, my boy. Last thing I want to touch on before I get out of here, OKC and Minnesota, man, both 41-17, first and second in the Western Conference. Minnesota winning 7 out of the last 10 games, 21-6 at home. It's impressive stuff. I know they lost to Milwaukee. I wish they won that game. I really circled that. I wanted to see how they play against like a really good Eastern Conference team. They lost, but they did bounce back against the Nets. But honestly, man, Minnesota is impressive. This is the team that I was watching a lot coming out of the All-Star game. I'm like, okay, are they going to fold now second half? Are they too excited? Are they for real? Are they legit? Listen, Minnesota is for real. It's crazy, man. It's mostly what I like is their defense, bro. Their defense is no freaking joke, man. They can defend at a high level. McDaniels can defend. Karl Anthony Towns, not so much. And Edwards defends. Mike Conley, Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, Kyle Anderson. Like these dudes just throw out defenders, even coming off the bench. And their chemistries and their vibes are high. And another team that I was looking at is, like I mentioned, OKC. All right. Young team, right? SGA MVP candidate, in my opinion. Yo, stuff like that, they tend to cool off, right? No. I got no questions. I don't have any questions that these two teams are for real. Every question that I had was, okay, they got off to a hot start. They got a week off. Teams are going to start trying. Shit's going to hit the fan. Where are they going to go from here? They've answered the bell. OKC winners of 6 straight and 8 out of the last 10 games. OKC is for real. Minnesota is for real. Yeah. And that's what I got to say about the NBA and the Miami Heat. So to wrap up, basically what I said, Miami Heat, look out. I think they're hitting that stride. I think they're contenders again. Minnesota and OKC, they are for real. Denver, though. Denver is climbing up. 3rd seed now and climbing only 2 games out of that 1st seed, which is crazy. As good as Minnesota has played, Denver's only 2 games behind them. And this, talking about activating a switch, Denver knows how to activate that switch as well. So keep an eye on Denver. Sacramento, get it together. Dallas, I haven't gave up on Dallas. And Golden State, I think Golden State is it's that time for them to turn it up. Winners of 8 out of the last 10 games. But Sacramento, man, I'm standing strong with you guys. But I really hope I really hope you get it together, man. Shout out to Giannis in the chat. What up, man? Just looking at these messages now. Hey, my guy Jacoby, God, he says, God, I tune in and you're already clowning on us. Listen, man, I know you love your Kings, man. I am not clowning you guys, bro. Like, I really I root for you guys. I root for De'Aaron Fox, man. I'm with you guys all the time. You know it. But it's frustrating, man. I got to call it like I see it. It is frustrating, man. Based on what the Kings showed me last year and what I'm seeing this year, it's a drop off, bro. Like I know you guys, are not used to having like this great success, and you guys are 9 games over 500, which hasn't come around much lately, but you guys are better, man. You guys are better than what you're putting out there, man. Jacoby says team stinks. He's talking about the Kings here. Team stinks, and our GM chose not to be better the team in the offseason or the deadline. Yeah, he didn't make any moves, and that shocked me. I actually didn't mention that. Sacramento Kings team, who's been, battling in the standings. They're a team that has been inconsistent. They're a team that has so much potential. They kind of need a piece. You heard rumblings about them going after Pascal Siakam. You heard rumors about them going for OG Anunoby. You heard rumors about them going with Zach LaVine. Obviously, Zach LaVine went down with an injury. But you heard so many rumors about how the Kings were going to get better and add kind of a third guy, even if it's a 3-and-D guy like an OG. And they didn't do so. I thought that's kind of, I think Jacoby, obviously he's going to get it right, man. He's a Kings fan. I think he nailed it on the head. I think that's the key for the Kings, man. If they were to make a move at the deadline, I might be talking about this team with a little bit more. I would be a little bit more optimistic, man. But their inability to improve their team at the trade deadline actually sounds like our Miami Dolphins, which is just crazy, man. Shout out to my co-host Jacoby, man, out there in Sacramento. Giannis said the Bucks back on track. Yeah, they are, man. I called that. Making the move for Patrick Beverley, adding Danilo Gallinari, having Doc Rivers, and having more time with that team was going to get that team right, man. And I think they are on their way. Giannis also says, I think the T-Wolves are for real since last year. They almost beat the soon-to-be champs and are firing very well. Yeah, they made some noise, man. Even though they lost in the first round, all of those games against Denver where they kind of battled in there. And when they're able to throw out those two bigs like Karl Towns and Rudy Gobert, I think that's matchup hell for Denver. So, listen, playoffs are going to get exciting, man, are going to be very exciting. 24 games left. But let's see how it goes. But this will wrap up today's show. Once again, I appreciate everybody that's tuning in, that has tuned in, that has subscribed. If you haven't, please subscribe to the pod. I do this show every week, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already at youtube.com/@Miami Sports Vibes, or keep following your pod if you're listening on audio. Search up Miami Sports Vibe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I'll catch you guys next week. Good luck to your NBA teams. Keep an eye on my Miami Heat. And good luck to the Sacramento Kings fans and my guy, Jacoby. See you later, everybody. On to next week.